Wow, that's awesome. It's like a pirate ship. Hey, what's up? 819S here. So a few days ago I made a video about the 5 things that I love about riding in Japan. Today I want to make the opposite video, 5 things I don't like about riding in Japan. A lot of the things that I'm going to talk about can apply to where you live and where you ride. So if they do, you can leave a comment down below. If they don't, just know if you come to Japan to ride, this is something you're going to have to think about. And it's going to rain today. It's really cloudy and overcast right now, so I hope to get this video done before the rain starts. So, number 1 is police. That's the same thing everywhere in the world, I think. You know, the police in Japan are especially strict. There's 2 great examples of videos online that I think you should watch. So Kansai rider went over a bridge. He was unaware that he was not allowed to cross and got ticketed for it. Motorcycle Japan went through a tunnel that was off limits to motorcycles. He went through a tunnel that was off limits to motorcycles and ended up getting ticketed for that. So you have to be very careful. I think both of those situations were things where, you know, in America, if you were nice enough to the cop, you could probably get off with no problem, because they were actually honest mistakes. They weren't intentionally trying to cross the bridge that they knew they weren't allowed to go through, or something like that. You know, the police can be a little bit on the strict side, so there's other things involving the police that are interesting too. And I think one is that police don't always set up a roadblock or a traffic sting the same way that they do in America. I have seen a number of police standing on the side of the road, and then further down the road, maybe another half kilometer or kilometer, is another group of police officers. The first group that's standing there is checking for, you know, insurance stickers and tags and stuff like that. They're looking for whatever they can on your bike to stop you for. And then the second set is actually pulling you over. It's a really weird thing because there's not always police cars involved. It's just them standing out there. So something you should be careful of. Number 2 will probably be pedestrians and bicyclists. I'm not anti-bicyclist. I understand that people need to get around, but there are a number of people who just dash into the middle of the street. They are riding on the side of the road, and then they suddenly veer into the road without turning around and looking if it's safe behind them or anything. There's a lot of really, really bad cyclists in Japan. The people who are wearing kind of bicycling gear, who are all pro-looking, race-riding looking guys, generally, my experience with them has been pretty good. It's the people on mamacharis, like on old lady bicycles and stuff like that, that are the ones who are causing trouble, and young people, teenagers and stuff like that. Those are the ones you have to look out for. Jaywalking is another big thing. There are tons and tons of jaywalkers. And people, again, they just dash out in the middle of the road. You don't even really expect or anticipate them until suddenly they're in the middle of the street. I've been guilty of doing that too, but now that I'm riding every day, I'm a little bit more careful and responsible with the way that I would jaywalk if I feel I need to jaywalk. You know how that goes. Number 3 is the maps and general directions. A lot of times where I'm from, if you miss the street that you wanted to turn on, you make a turn on the next street and you can kind of go back and catch up. It's pretty easy to do that where I'm from. But in Japan, if you miss the turn and you turn down the next street, they could diverge wildly and you could end up being in a totally different place than you actually want to go. So you have to pay very, very close attention. Having a map or a GPS is a really, really good idea if you're going to ride in Japan. And make sure that you know exactly where you want to go before you head out, and you can get there, you know, pretty easily. I see water drips on my phone. I hope it's not raining yet. Number 4 is traffic. It's exactly what I'm sitting in right now. This is absolutely number 1 worst part of everyday riding in Japan. In my other video I said filtering and lane splitting is okay, so right now I can definitely cruise up the left side of the lane up to the front of traffic, but just as an example, I'll show you traffic moves really, really slow here. And you can see up front, the people who are trying to turn left and right are sort of blocking the way for people who want to go straight. I'm one of the people who wants to go straight, and I can't. I may end up getting stopped at this red light a second time. Okay, I made it. And the last one for me is weather. It's absolutely weather. So Japan has 4 seasons. If you're in a southern area of Japan, you can ride all year round. There's very, very little snow. If you get into the mountains and into a mountainous area, you definitely will encounter snow in the winter. But if you're in a city area or a kind of lower lying area, there's probably going to be pretty decent weather all year round. It'll be cold. You need some winter gloves, definitely. But it won't really be snowy. Again, it really depends on where you're living. Cool old Japanese house. Yeah, some things you have to consider are definitely wind. In my hometown, wind is not that big of a deal. Of course, we have storms that get really windy, but I've never experienced the wind I have in Japan when I lived in America. The winds in Japan can get really, really strong, and on a bicycle it's even worse because, you know, you can get thrown around like a rag doll. On a motorcycle, if you're on a decently heavy, a decently weighted bike, you can kind of, you feel it, you get pushed around in the lane a little bit, but it's not really that bad. Wow, what is that? BMW. I kind of want to turn around and chase that BMW. I guess that's a bonus one. The other thing that's really tricky is narrow streets. I don't think that's a big problem for me because on a motorcycle you can really fit, but you can see here it's 2 lanes, but it's not really wide enough for 2 cars, so you have to kind of back up and move out of the way for people sometimes. Alright, so that's it for today's video. Thanks so much. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button. If you're not already, please subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Ride safe.